Mic's not hot right now, so I just wait until a little eyeball shows up. So there, I know it's linked, connected. Countdown.
Welcome to Small Business Saturdays video series with your host and my husband.
And my dad, Monty Montgomery.
Join the conversation.
Let's talk some business.
All right. Welcome into Small Business Saturdays. As you heard there from my son, Lewis, my name is Aaron Montgomery, and I am extremely excited here to have an opportunity to come visit my dad. This is my dad, Monty Montgomery. How are you, Dad?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
Good. And he's nice enough to sit in with me here. And you guys have heard me talk lots about how I was fortunate enough to get to grow up with my dad, sharing all of his entrepreneurial spirit. And I think I got a lot of the things that I say from this guy. So this is a real treat for me. And, we were actually just talking this morning, Dad, about the fact that we're going to talk about three things that customers care about here today. And while they're very specific, and we'll get into some actual action items and whatnot, you had mentioned back from when you had your accounting CPA firm. How long ago was that? I want to age you here a little bit, but
yeah, let's see, 20 more than 20 years.
Yeah, about more than 20 years ago. That these same three things we're going to talk about were relevant then. So these are pillar type things that we can do for our businesses. And so anyhow, my dad was nice enough to get up early with me, join us here, and so yeah, we were sitting in his office, and a lot of work going on in here, Dad.
Oh gosh, just constant
Work. Okay, you got to figure out all of the golf outings and lots of stuff.
Well,
like
they're
that.
our priority.
Yeah. Good morning, Sandy. Thank you for being here with us this morning. So we're on the road. We're actually heading to Arizona after this. We're actually going to make it to hopefully about Amarillo, Texas here. And so we want to get through this. Good morning, Wendy. Thank you for being here with us. And then Facebook user, I know that probably done this before, but if you can, head over to, and I got to get the right banner up. Where did you go? All right, come on. Oh, there. Okay. If you head over to oursuccess.group/Facebook, it will give will give StreamYard the ability for us to see who we're talking to there. So apologize if you've done that before, but just the way Facebook works. So thank you very much for being here. All right. So, Dad, we're going to talk about three things customers care about. Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping me kind of get through some of this stuff. But I don't know, Dad, are we on the backside of this COVID pandemic, hopefully? Is that the feeling you get too?
That's the feeling I get, yeah.
Good. So, we've been navigating this for over a year, though. It was about I think we're actually a year and a couple of weeks past when a lot of places officially started, quote unquote, shutting down when we first got into this COVID pandemic last year. And that's been a challenge, right? We've all done all of the things, the pivoting, the figuring out new marketing techniques, navigating all these things that can feel super tricky and really super complicated and can become a bit overwhelming. I know for our business, we were just looking at all different ways that we could just be there for our customers and help develop. And, what's this new marketing technique? How do we do this? How do we do that? But throughout all of this quote unquote pivoting, the reasons we did that was so we can best serve our customers, right? And that's kind of the gist of this whole thing. And what I think maybe got lost a little bit, and one of the reasons why this particular topic stood out to me, was because that customer experience is what's most important. It doesn't matter if we're in the middle of a pandemic, coming out of a pandemic 20 years ago, right? All of these things are extremely important, but they're not complicated. They're actually pretty easy if we get our headspace right. So I guess today, Dad, we want to talk about 3 things that customers care about and kind of ditch this whole overwhelmed feeling of, oh my gosh, I've got to figure out this, figure out that, figure out this, and just kind of understand and refocus on that customer experience that we provide for our customers. So, yes? Good. All right. Well, and was able to do some research. We pulled this. So as you guys know, there's a gentleman named Jay Baer who I follow pretty religiously. He's got a couple of really good books, Hug Your Haters, and I just forgot his other one off the top of my head here for some reason. I don't know if it's in the notes or not, but this is a lot of stuff that he talks about too. So that's where we're coming from here today. And in some of the research that we had for this, we found something that was really great news for all of us, is that 28% of consumers say that price actually matters less since the pandemic, which I think is a really eye-opening thing. I think a lot of us have all focused on, okay, well, people are struggling, so we need to lower our prices, we need to cut costs, we need to do all that. And I think actually the opposite of that is true, that because everybody's less focused on price and more focused on feeling comfortable, having a great experience, whatnot, that actually allows us a ton of freedom to open up the creativity and focus on these 3 things that we're going to talk about. So how do you see that, Dad? You told the story, I don't know if you'll remember this one or not, but you mentioned a story, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago when you and I were talking about the person that was asked about what would happen if you doubled your prices.
Oh, yeah.
What was that story?
Well, I was at even in those days, we had management seminars for our CPA firm. And I was at the seminar, and the lecturer was going to make a point about basically the value of customer service. And we're talking about price, and he asked the group, well, just think about this. What would happen if you went home today from this seminar and doubled your prices? And sure enough, and apparently predictably, a fellow in the first row said, oh my God, I'd lose half my clients. And so there was really kind of a lull in the whole conversation because the point was well made. Now he's got twice as much time to serve his customers and build his clients by just simply weeding out half of them.
Yeah. So think about that in your business. What would happen if you raise the price? What's holding you back from raising that price? Could you double it? And if you lose half your customers, I'm not great at math, but I think that still works out okay, right?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for sharing that, Dad. All right. So before we dive into these 3 things that customers really care about, let's quickly describe what we mean by customer experience. When we say customer experience, we're talking about an experience that will exceed expectations, right? It should not be enough just to provide a quality product in a reasonable amount of time. That's the minimum expected requirement just to be in business. If you're not able to do that, then you've got a lot of things to fix before we can get to this point. So just going out there and say, well, I provide a quality product and I get it turned around in a reasonable amount of time. That's not exceeding expectations. That's not providing a customer experience. Unfortunately, that's just not good enough any longer. But here's the bonus. Not only is it good news about the price that we just talked about, but if you can just focus on these 3 things, you don't have to get all crazy wild out there. If you can focus on these 3 things, you're going to be able to easily exceed customer expectations beyond, again, just having a quality product and a reasonable price. So, Dad, would you share with the viewers here what the 3 things are?
Well, first you have to be quick or have speed in your performance. Now you're gonna make me forget what the other
No,
ones are.
you're okay. I don't know if you can see it over there.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay. Yeah, so you have to be quick and have speed. You got to be clear with what it is you're communicating or what the customer's communicating, or you have to have clarity in your picture. And then you've got to emphasize. You have to listen and be sympathetic and empathetic to your customer.
Yep, that's great. So there are those 3: speed, clarity, empathy. All right, so you guys take a second, write that down: speed, clarity, empathy. If we can focus on those 3 things and just do better in those 3 areas, we're going to create a customer experience that exceeds expectations. There we go. So here's a viewer comment that exceeding for me is hand delivering, which may mean driving hour. There you go. You're exceeding their expectations. That's perfect. So let's talk about these 3 things. I want to break these things down a little bit more and get into them, and then give you guys some ideas and maybe some tools that will allow you to better just grow these areas of our business. So let me do this. Okay, so number 1 was speed, right? And you guys have heard me say this before, and actually this statement comes from Jay Baer, and speed is a choice. It's an active choice that we make. We can either choose to respond quickly, we can choose to make things quicker, it's a choice that we make, or we can choose to ignore that, get around to it, that type of thing. But speed is a choice. And as I just mentioned, speed can mean a lot of things when it comes to your business. But the very first thing that's important when we talk about speed is we have to believe that that's important. We have to believe that making that choice is going to make a difference. And then we also have to believe that we can be exceptionally fast. Many of us are solopreneurs. Many of us are side gig, getting to making this your full-time business, and therefore you wear a lot of hats, right? You're everything from the producer to the janitor to the accountant to all of those things. But you can make this a choice to be quick. So let's think about that. Let's say a customer contacts you. What's your minimum standard for reply? And not just that auto responder that you have set up potentially. I mean, that could be something quick, but if that's not personal and they see through that, that's not a reply. Now, typically, most companies will reply within a business day to emails, maybe return phone calls in an hour or so. But think about this in your business. What if you were to always, no matter what, respond to all emails within 30 minutes? What if you were to return all phone calls in 10 minutes? Is that exceptional service? Would that make a difference then?
Oh, absolutely it would. That's a commitment to your customer.
Yep, exactly. Let's see here. We've got another comment here. Making sure you allow time for your day is to plan to be able to have speed and not get sidetracked.
That's a good point.
That's a very good point. Yep. So being able to have those times when, yes, okay, during these hours we're going to respond within 30 minutes, we're going to return all phone calls within 10 minutes. This is exceptional service. Now again, we talked about the fact that we're wearing a lot of hats. How do we make that happen? How can you pull this off and still run your business? Well, one tool that probably you guys didn't have quite as much back in your day is we can do things like we can get a virtual assistant to help us with this.
No.
They did not have virtual assistants. Yeah, but the same type of thing happened though. You would hire somebody. You would have a secretary, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody that had that job, and then you would set that standard for them. Right? That okay, this is your job. Your job is to respond to all emails in 30 minutes. Get back to all phone calls in 10 minutes. Now, I've got here, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I'll put it in the comments. I'm not sure it's going to get there or not, but if you go to a company called IWorker.co, IWORKER.co, and there, put it on screen there real quick. And actually, if you can get to it, if you get to it from that link, oursuccess.group/IWorker, you can actually get 5 free hours of virtual assistant. And here's the greatest part: their virtual assistants start at $5.95 an hour. I work with a young lady through IWorker. Her name's Everlyn. You guys may have seen her in the private members group a couple times, but she got a college degree in statistics, writes very good emails, is fantastic. I love working with her. She's amazing. And again, I think I pay her $6.95 an hour. So, and if the standard is this, we can then have our virtual assistant reply to all of our emails, so we don't have to worry about that, right? So do you have a standard? What are some other things, Dad? I know we talked about inside speed, but one thing that I notice that holds people back when it comes to making speed a choice is, well, I don't know the answer yet. How can we kind of get over that? Any thoughts on that?
Well, if you think about it, many of the questions that you get are fundamentals. And if you either have a written summary of the fundamentals that you can give to your, in our case, it wasn't a virtual assistant, it was a real human being, then most of those issues can be responded to accurately, quickly. If you got this virtual thing, I would think that would also apply there.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing that I think gets lost for a lot of us is the fact that we feel like we have to have all of the information when we reply, right? And that's not the case. The customer's expectations are going to be exceeded if you reply and then say, here's the standard. Let me get you some better information so we can best serve your needs, and then I will get back with you in a certain amount of time, and then do everything you can to do what you then said. So if somebody has a question that they come to you with that, is a little bit outside of your normal, outside of the standards, it's okay to say, well, here's the standard, but let me get more information and get back to you. That's a speedy reply. It doesn't mean that when we talk about having a speedy reply, this doesn't mean that we have to answer and finish the situation right away. This just means that we need to get back to them and contact them and let them know that we care about them, right? So that's the trick there. So again, we talked about the fact, excuse me, that this can mean a lot of different things in your business. It could be replying to customer issues, but just how quickly do you turn around your orders? You know, if your standard production time is 5 to 7 business days, and that's totally fine, but internally, what is your standard? Do you have a standard? And do you always hit that? So maybe we're going to say 5 to 7 business days is our standard turn. But internally, we know that we want to get everything out in 3 days. Because every time that you get something out in 3 days and the customer was expecting it in 5 days, because here's the trick. If you say 5 to 7 days, customers expect it to go out on day 5. They want to be in that upper echelon. So if you say 5 to 7 days and then you get it out in 3 days, now you've exceeded the customer's expectations. We set the expectation in front by having that policy, and then we exceeded the expectation by internally saying our goal is to get everything out in 3 days, and then we have to set that standard. I think that's probably the other part, Dad, that we can kind of get lost in, is we haven't taken the time to set those standards inside of our company and make sure that they're very clear. Even if it's just you, if you have that in writing and you have that above your computer or next to your printer or next to the press or wherever it's very visible, all orders will go out in 3 days. or all emails will be responded to in 30 minutes, that's going to make a difference. So, and then if you have other people that work with you, it's even more important to make sure that they're crystal clear on what the expectation is. Because when you set an expectation and you go, okay, well, this is what we're shooting for, that's not going to do it, right? We need to say, this is what is required. We have not done our job if we don't meet this standard. Now, you set your standard, right? We're not saying you have to do 30 minutes or you have to do 3 days or anything like that. You set your standard, but then make sure that you're exceeding that standard internally. So any other thoughts there on that?
Well, you've got to be clear with what the customer is wanting. And once you're clear with those expectations, then your standards become pretty easy to set. And that means that you've got to have a plan and you've got to listen.
Got to have a plan, got to listen. I love it. Thank you, Dad. All right, well, that's a perfect segue, Dad, into number 2 here, which is clarity. Now, what clarity means is many of us are kind of on the lookout for the customer complaints, right? We definitely want to avoid those. We know that a customer complaint is something that we got to get on right away, and that's great. But the other thing that we need to be on the lookout that a lot of times we are not on the lookout for is the clarity warnings, right? And a clarity warning is when a customer says, well, I'm confused about this, or how do I, or what does this mean? Whenever they're asking more questions after you've shared how this is going to work, that means that they're not clear with what that message is. So are you looking for those things? And you kind of go, okay, well, how do I look for those things? I got a lot of things coming at me all the time. You've got a treasure trove of information at your fingertips that you probably don't even recognize. Every single time you've responded to a customer, if you go back and you just set up, do a search in your email sent box, for any time you come up with the word how, confused, what, you kind of figure out some of these clarity warnings, and then search that inside your email box, and there you go. There are the things that you need to then get more clear about. So once you find that, and you can do the same thing inside your messengers on maybe you interact with your customers on Facebook Messenger or chat, or have a notepad next to your phone that when you're talking with customers, every time you hear them say one of those clarity warning words, you write it down. You write down that question, and then that becomes the tools that now we're going to take and make sure that we're clear. So, Dad, you mentioned a little bit earlier the kind of having that information, but having a FAQ. You know what FAQ is? Is that too new?
Yeah, no, I know what FAQ is.
So what is an FAQ, Dad?
Frequently asked questions.
There you go. There you go. So how would that have looked 20 years ago?
Well, like you said, most everything was written down, and we would make notes of these types of things. And then in those days, we would have a meeting and go over what was important to our clients.
Yep.
We call them clients.
Yeah.
And what priorities we had as an organization to address some of these things, because we didn't not want complaints. We actually welcomed the complaints. It was information.
Yeah.
To make ourselves differentiate.
Exactly. That's perfect. And again, this is what I love about this, and this is why I'm so excited to have my dad sitting here next to me, is that you look at, I look at all these things and I'm going, okay, yeah, this is what we do in business today. This is awesome. This is great. And then I realize these are all the same core values that my dad instilled in me 20, 30 years ago before I got into my career. So yeah, I still vividly remember spending time in your filing room. I knew all of your clients' customer numbers and all that stuff. That was some of my favorite memories of getting to see it all in action. So All right, so we need to make it FAQ, and we've got this treasure trove of information if we go back through our old emails and start actively tracking this stuff. Then here's the bonus, and this is where we can really use some of the tools of our modern business era. Is this becomes also great content, right? We just had a training about mastering live video. And one of the things that was holding people back from going out and doing live video and getting out there was they didn't know what content to share. Well, you've got a treasure trove of content here too. So you can take these questions, you can make them a blog post, you can do a live video to answer the question, and then that video becomes something that you embed in your FAQ page. You can post the information on social media. But the key is to then organize them in an easy to find page on your website, and then make sure that people know where to go. Because what will happen is they will have that question in the middle of the night. This is what makes that experience an exceptional experience, because they can then find out the information. They can get clarity on their own, and they're going to love that. Yes, they might love talking to you about it, and so you got to know this information too. But if a customer can go find out information on their own, then you're going to get comments like, "The Monty's website was so great because I had all the information I needed to have a successful transaction." So, and then here's an even bigger bonus, is we can actually take that FAQ information and we can turn it into an easy to use guide on how to buy your product. So maybe what you sell are bling shirts, rhinestone decorated shirts. And so you can have this FAQ guide about, here are the top 10 questions about purchasing a rhinestone embellished shirt, or however you're going to word that in your voice. Well, if you take that information, you turn it into a PDF, then people can download that and take it. And they can also take that PDF, or you can take that PDF, excuse me, you can take that PDF and you want to get some new leads. There's a perfect way to entice somebody to give you their information. Post that on social media, say, hey, get this 10-point guide to purchasing rhinestone embellished shirts. All you got to do is give us your first name and email address. There's a new lead. And they're just taking your FAQ and digesting it as a white paper. They're getting value, you're getting value, because now you have a new lead that you can reach out to. Really great opportunity there for you. So, anything I missed there?
No, you're doing fine.
All right.
My supervision apparently is working.
Yeah, finally. You guys are getting my best here this morning, because I got my dad standing here. All right. So real quick, last thing on clarity here, Dad, before we get to empathy, is, and you'd mentioned this already a little bit, but when it comes to clarity, the other thing we need to do is prioritize reviews. And we'll certainly talk about this more when it comes to empathy, but people look to reviews more and more. In fact, when we were just sitting out in the living room chatting with Kylene, and we were kind of chatting about this whole thing together, is, how many times do we are looking for something, we pick up our phone, we go to Google Maps or Yelp. I mean, you'll look at that stuff too, right?
Oh, yeah.
And that is where we get our information. It's one thing to hear it from the company, but then when we hear it from other people that have made that purchasing decision, as humans, that gives us that, okay, I feel better about this because somebody else had made that purchasing decision too. So we need to prioritize reviews and basically make people feel more comfortable with their buying decision and getting that clarity. So another tool that you can use here, let me put this link in here, is a great tool that we use on several of our websites. It's called Helpful Crowd. I'm going to put it on the bottom here. If you go to Helpful Crowd, I love this tool because what it does is it links in with your e-commerce store. If it's Shopify, it covers most of the major e-commerce stores. And what it does is you load it up, and then you do some settings in the background. And after somebody makes a purchase, it will send them an email thanking them, asking them to give a review. You can even set it up to where it sends them a coupon code for their review, different stuff like that. And it just manages all that. And then it'll send you a notification once you get a review, and it'll ask you to reply, and you should reply to it either way. And we'll talk about that here in just 1 second. But this is an awesome tool. So helpfulcrowd.com is where you want to go and check that out. You don't have to use that tool, but some way to manage reviews and make them a priority inside of your business. All right. All right. Let's get to number 3 here, Dan, and then we can go get breakfast. That's how I got him in here. I told him we couldn't have breakfast until we got this done. So I got to twist his arm. No. All right. So empathy. This comes naturally to some of you. My wife, who's right out there, she is extremely empathetic. It's a quality of hers that I am enamored by, because she can easily put herself in anybody else's shoes. And for others of us, I'm not sure where you fall on this scale, Dad, but I know that it is actually something I have to continuously work on. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad person, that I don't care about people. What it means is I just don't naturally put myself in others' shoes. But if we just look at it like this, and this is the way I'm able to best manage this part of myself, is just be kind to people no matter what. No matter what the person on the other side is doing, they're yelling at you, they're being a jerk, they're being unreasonable, all this other stuff. If you can just remember to, I'm just going to be kind. Let them do their thing. Let them have a bad day. Let them feel however they want to feel, but I'm going to be kind to them. And this is not always easy, and I don't always do it well. But if you can focus on the feelings and not the facts, then you're going to be a lot better off. So, Dad, well, first off, where do you fall on that spectrum? Throughout your career, how was that empathy able to be best manifested?
We had to make it a priority. The biggest part of our business plan and goals were to make it a priority to be empathetic to your customer. And to do that, you had to realize that you don't have a business if you don't have a customer. The customer pays your mortgage, the customer pays your car payment, they feed you. Everything is centered on the customer.
Correct.
So then you become a better listener. And that's sometimes, if they're really upset for whatever reason, there's a reason, whether it's valid or not, is not important.
Yeah.
Listen to them and you'll learn.
Yeah,
He says in here a really good statement that says, complaints are the canary in the coal mine of customer experience. I thought that was a really wonderful summary of the thing.
Yeah, that is a great summary. And yeah, this is the other part about this, that why I was so excited to kind of be able to share these things, is because, and we talked about at the very beginning that whole, the story about where the guy said, what happens if you raise your price by double? You lose half your customers. But that makes this empathy thing so much easier, because you're working with the people that you want to work with. You're working with the people that are going to pay you the value that you're worth. And therefore, listening to them, being able to suck it up every once in a while, even when maybe deep down I'm right, doesn't matter. Like you said, it's listening to them, understanding what they're feeling, and I'm like most of you, and I've seen this in our messenger, in the Facebook groups and stuff like that. Everybody talks about, I had this customer, and they're so unreasonable, and I get all that, and that's what our Facebook groups are for. We can all empathize with each other. We can all kind of commiserate together. But that interaction with your customer can't be that. It can't be what are the facts of the situation. It has to be about what they're feeling, because for whatever reason, they're feeling like they've been wronged. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that's important. So how do you work with them on their feelings? And it does just come from this being kind, because here's the other part about this, Dad, that I really think is important to understand, is the research has shown that for every, So for every 5 customer complaints that you get, there were 100 other people that didn't complain and then just left, right? And you said that if you understand that your customers are your lifeblood, right? That this is how you pay your mortgage. This is why it's so important. So if you don't take those 5 complaints seriously, think about how many other customers are just walking away without telling you this. This is why it's the canary, right? This is when you hear that customer complaint, that's the coal miners had these canaries because when that canary kicked it, they knew something was wrong and they had to get out of there.
Yeah.
Right? They had to fix the problem. So that complaint is that canary. We've got to fix the problem and understand from their vantage point why it's a problem.
Yep.
So take the emotions out of it, understand their feelings, take your emotions out of it. Don't come back at them with facts and then just kind of look to exceed their expectations. So let's see here. What else we want to cover here? I just want to get to my notes. So I think we've kind of covered this whole idea of focusing on the feelings, avoiding getting into the facts. The other thing that I wanted to say here is when you do get into that battle with your customers over who's right and kind of facting them to death, you're going to, at the end of that, go, okay, I won, right? You're going to have that feeling of, oh my gosh, I won. But what really happened is you just lost. And Sandy, thanks for sharing this. She says, I'm one of those. I will usually just walk away and find elsewhere to do my business. And I think most of us are that way because this complaint that you get from your customers is actually a gift. They actually took their time to tell you what's going wrong in your business. It may not feel like that. It may just feel like they're being a jerk. But so I don't know. Any other thoughts on that, Dad?
Well, doing these things is not easy. You got to really work hard at it, and you don't have to do it all instantly.
Yeah.
Just make a commitment that you're going to give it a try and get a little bit better and a little bit better. And it'll become natural. We got it so that we had 30-some people in our CPA firm, all of them committed to our clients for the highest priority. Yeah.
Well, and honestly, that's a great point that you make. I remember that. As I mentioned, I remember the times that I got to work with my dad in his business, and you called them clients, and I remember that, but there was never this feeling of that this is just, they all had their customer numbers. I knew what their customer numbers were, but I actually associated the numbers more with the people as opposed to the other way around, the people with the number, because I look back on some of your best friends that you did other business ventures with and spent time with. These were your clients.
Yeah.
You were talking about Gary Swanson, one of your clients. It's out there in the hallway. You've got one of his paintings out there in the hallway. Very well-known wildlife artist. He was probably one of your better clients, I would assume.
and one of my best friends.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're charging what you're worth, when you're being empathetic, not only are you gaining a client, a customer, but you're also potentially gaining a friend. And if you can treat your clients like they're your friends, like they're your family, this will go a super long way, and it becomes a lot easier. Like I said, we don't have to tackle all this right now today, but if we focus on getting better at these 3 things each day, we are going to turn our customers into friends and family. I hear you guys talk about that a lot out there, is that my customers are my friends and my family and that kind of thing. So
That's right.
All right, so let's just review real quick here, Dad, and then we'll close it out and be done. 40 minutes. I said 30 minutes, but I always go long. All right, so number 1, speed. And the trick here is let's have a set standard for responding to customers or getting orders out the door, or in some way exceeding their expectations when it comes to speed. So set the expectations, exceed the expectations. The second one is clarity. Have a well-organized FAQ page, frequently asked questions page, point to it often, continuously update it, use it as content that you share out there to the world. Number 3 is empathy, making reviews a priority. Just like speed, we need to have a set standard and system to reply to them quickly and without the need to be right. So focus on those feelings. These three things matter to the customer above all else. I think we can, and here's when we started digging into this, you read through that, and I was digging into this whole thing. It did be kind of, because I read the headline, the 3 things customers care about, and I'm like, okay, there's going to be some really new and exciting stuff in here. Nope. Same things you've been doing for 20, 30, 40 years, and beyond even that, these 3 things: speed, clarity, empathy. How do you do that? And then just get to work on implementing these things. It's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to plan about it. But the other side of this is, let's just do it. Right? Set something in place. Try it. Try it for a week. I'm going to respond to every single email in 30 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. Do it for a week. See how you can make that work into your schedule. Start working on an FAQ page. Get something up there, even if you don't have it complete, because actually it should be a continuous work in progress, and go from there. So, all right, question here. When using a VA that is answering emails, what do you do when the customer calls and asks to speak to the VA? That's a good point. So the way I've actually done this is a really good question, because it does become a little bit, now you have to look at your VA as an employee of your business. So they are, and they will act like that. And if you set that standard for them, they will act like that. But what we've done is we've made it to where the VA is answering as the company. That way you can have different people doing it. Once you get, and then there are some tools that you can use if you're having multiple people involved. So we continue to look at it as, I'm the face, Todd is the face of our company. Everlynn's around, but she's not the focus of it. So she's going to be helping in the background. Now, if you are having the VA kind of share who they are, then yeah, you're going to have to figure that out. My VA is in Nigeria, so the timing of it can be a little bit of a challenge. So my recommendation is to just have them act as the company as opposed to acting as themselves, and then you can handle those calls. That is the challenge with VAs. And I don't know, you have any thoughts on that? So you've not worked with a VA, so
I thought the VA was the Veterans Administration.
Yeah, it's a different thing. But really good question. And these are things that you have to understand, you have to think about. So, you'll find what works best for you. Again, I found that just having Everlyn respond as the company is the best way to manage that. Now, some of them will take phone calls, and I've had phone calls with Everlyn, and her English is fantastic. Nigeria, so that it's fairly native for them there. You just have to kind of find the right person. And here's the other thing with VAs real quick though. Start working with one. You don't have to continue working with that person if it doesn't fit. And it doesn't mean that they're bad or you're not doing things right. They're just not a fit. It's just like having an employee, that you would hire a secretary and it seemed really great and it wouldn't work out. And it wasn't for any other reason than it just wasn't the fit for your culture, your company. Right. All right. So I think that's about it. What other questions do you guys have? These are the 3 things that customers care about most: speed, clarity, and empathy. Did we miss anything there?
That's pretty thorough. Okay.
All right. Well, I did promise him breakfast. I promised him it would only take 30 minutes. So I got to feed this guy before he gets done. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. It is really special for me when we get to do this.
I enjoyed it, son.
Good. All right, you guys, you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we will look forward to seeing you guys all again here soon. Take care.